Hey, what's up? Back at you with another video. You all know about Vusi Thembekwayo, right? Cue here to back when I spoke about him and his beef with Sizwe Dhlomo and how I thought that he is a worthwhile businessman.
Vusi Thembekwayo is a businessman, right? And we spoke about him, me being an entrepreneur and liking entrepreneurship and people in the space. I've been following him for a very long time. Glad to see him grow. And for a lot of the things that he said in the past, I'm glad to see him still around, because I used to think he's a guy with a flashy accent who's just gonna appear and then disappear. But he's actually turning out to be a worthwhile South African businessman to follow and listen to.
So now we are receiving information that he is not so worthwhile. He does not keep his promises. He does not pay the people that he owes. And this comes courtesy of Sunday World. And the article says, Vusi Thembekwayo sued for 13.7 million by ex-business partner. And it reads, the business partnership between Vusi Thembekwayo and Rovi and Justin Naidoo has crumbled after the latter accused the internationally acclaimed motivational speaker of defrauding him. Naidoo alleged that Thembekwayo failed to pay him millions of rands. He said he saved Thembekwayo and his company, My Growth Fund Venture Partners, millions of rands by finding a good office rental deal that saved them wags of lucre. Naidoo has alleged Thembekwayo failed to pay him for his services to My Growth Fund Venture Partners. He also alleged that Thembekwayo and company failed to transfer 50% of My Growth Fund Venture Partners shares to him as agreed. He claimed he left his successful business to join forces with the motivational speaker because of this agreement. News of the collapse of their pack came to light after Naidoo took Thembekwayo and My Growth Fund Venture Partners to court to seek an order to force him to pay him a total of more than 13 million for services rendered. The staggering amount comprises 5 million for the work he has done for My Growth Fund Venture Partners and 8.7 million for brokering the rental deal for Thembekwayo and his company. In the court papers we have seen, Naidoo said during June 2021, he, together with Thembekwayo and My Growth Fund Venture Partners, cited as the first and second respondents, respectively, entered into a verbal agreement to join their respective skills and resources with the purpose of creating investment opportunities and raising funding for projects. Thembekwayo and My Growth Fund Venture Partners would utilize the entity as the primary vehicle wherein the investment opportunities would be created and conducted, and funding would be raised with the intention of making a profit. Naidoo said Thembekwayo agreed to transfer to him 50% of the total shareholding and/or securities of My Growth Fund Venture Partners on condition that he leave his successful company. Naidoo said he was expected to conceptualize and compile fund structures, commercial term sheets, and investment memorandums. He said he was also expected to develop what would become the My Growth Fund Playbook, which was to be used to obtain new private equity venture capital and to build a high net worth variable rate debenture fund, which would be known as VUGA and Mount Fletcher. Naidoo was also expected to create a venture capital arm and obtain venture capital, create a private equity book, and market the envisaged projects to the public. In addition to that, Naidoo said he was also expected to do the due diligence on proposed projects, develop the XCO capital playbook, structure a debt lending portfolio, and attend to the deal-making negotiations in respect of what would later become Project Sasfin. Naidoo said because the business had not generated sufficient income after 3 months to allow for profit sharing, they amended the agreement to make provision for him to charge against a loan account for services rendered at his normal rate of 5,000 per hour. Hey, some quick shameless self-promotion over here. If you love and enjoy this channel and you also happen to love dope gadgets, you can support my new baby, my new startup, my new retail venture, Gadget Plug. In case you've only ever known me as a YouTuber, you'll be glad to know that I'm also a wedding and documentary film producer, pro video editor, and all-round entrepreneur with a love for high-end gadgets like cinema cameras, gaming consoles, powerful GPUs, computers, and mobile phones. And my electronics store Gadget Plug is your new go-to place for the latest and greatest in tech. We're talking real gadgets, real quality, real quick, at the best prices in all of South Africa. To know more about this, head on over to my website imneo.co.za and check out my e-commerce store today. As we officially kick off business, Gadget Plug has stock right now of iPhone 16 Pro Max in 256 and 512 gig at 25,000 and 28,000 respectively. Simply press the green button at the bottom of my website if you want to inquire, and one of my friendly customer service agents will attend to you. Thank you very much for your support. And now back to the video. The plaintiff's services so rendered would accumulate as a loan in his favor in the books of the second defendant, which loan would become repayable to the plaintiff prior to any declaration and distribution of dividends and profits. The plaintiff was entitled to retrospectively charge the above agreed rates for his hours worked from June 2021 onwards, read the papers. Naidu said he rendered his services at the agreed rate of 5,000 per hour and contributed 1,000 of his personal hours towards the investment and other projects of Thembekwayo and the entity. Naidu said Thembekwayo and My Growth Fund venture partners breached their agreement in December 2022 when they failed to transfer 50% of the total shareholding to him. They also failed to create a loan account in his favor in the books of My Growth Fund venture partners for the time he spent towards their projects at the agreed rate. Naidu said My Growth Fund venture partners stopped all communication with him during December 2022. The papers claim he blocked the plaintiff from access to the electronic mail and database of the first and second defendants, terminated the plaintiff's access to all the first and second defendants' systems and electronic platforms, refused to communicate any further with the plaintiff. This, Naidu said, constitutes a repudiation of their contract. As a result of the repudiation or breach of the agreement, Naidu said he suffered damages in the amount of 5 million, calculated on the agreed rate of 5,000 per hour, read the papers. Alternatively, Naidu is demanding 5 million from Thembekwayo and his entity after they misled him into believing that he would receive 50% shares in the company. At the time of the negotiations and at the time of contracting, the defendants knew that the representations were false because the first defendant never had the intention to provide the plaintiff with 50% of the shareholding within the second defendant and did not have the intention to pay the plaintiff for the services rendered. Because of the fraudulent misrepresentations made by the first defendant, the plaintiff has suffered damages in the amount of 5 million rand, being the hours spent by the plaintiff towards the project of the first and second defendants at the rate, the court papers state. In this respect, the plaintiff pleads that he, over the period of June 2021 up until December 2021, read the papers. In the second claim, Naidu said Thembekwayo told him in July 2021 that he required upmarket offices for himself and his entity at a reduced rental rate. Using his connections, Naidu said he informed Thembekwayo and My Growth Fund venture partners that he would source upmarket office space at a reduced rental rate. He said Thembekwayo told him that should he succeed in sourcing such a property at a low rate, he would pay an amount of 50% of the savings, being 50% of the difference between the reduced rate of rental charged to his entity and the actual rental rate. He said he found Thembekwayo a rental deal with Redefined Properties Sandton. The normal rental for the office and parking bays would be an amount of 3 million a year. This constitutes an amount of 250,000 rand a month. The agreement that was eventually concluded between the second defendant and the landlord entailed that no rent would be charged and that the only amount to be paid would be approximately 80,000 in respect of the office and 37,000 in respect of parking bays, which amounts are the rates that the landlord charges for utilities and amenities. As such, no rental was charged. The 50% of the value saved over the period of 5 years constitutes, therefore, an amount of 8,799,900, being the value saved of 17,599,802 rand and 90 cents, divided by 2, which the defendants must pay the plaintiff. Read the papers. Naidu said Thembekwayo failed to pay him the agreed amount. As a result of the repudiation/breach of the agreement, the plaintiff suffered damages in the amount of 8,799,901 rand, being the amount the plaintiff would have earned in respect of the second agreement had it not been for the defendant's repudiation thereof, he stated in the court papers. Thembekwayo could not be reached for comment. Sunday World has sent him a message, so the story will be updated once he has responded. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed this informative piece. Is Vusi Thembekwayo a proper businessman? Did he run into some issues? Is there more that is not being spoken here? Does it really matter though? Because this man has receipts to stand in a court and Vusi Thembekwayo has not responded. So I'll see you next time. Like, share, comment, and subscribe.